Ancient peoples never considered philosophy, science, and religion as separate entities for study and initiation. All these needed to be studied and harmonized by the true seeker of wisdom. It was actually Hippocrates, the famous Greek physician, born in 460 BCE, who dissociated the art of healing from the other sciences. This set a precedent which has been followed ever since. Modern humans have been taught that what we perceive through the 5 primary human senses is all that exists. According to Manly Palmer Hall, philosophy, science, and religion were regarded by ancient people as an integral part of the whole. It was the ancient priest class who practiced the art of healing back then, and it was originally a secret science. Candidates to the priest class had to take initiations to prove they were worthy of being admitted to the profession, instructed in the secret teachings, and accepted into the temple, which was the cradle of civilization in those days. Hall quotes Plato, who said, "In Egypt, the king himself is not allowed to reign unless he has priestly powers, and if he should be one of another class and have obtained the throne by violence, must get enrolled in the priest class." Though Hippocrates of Greece is widely considered to be the father of medicine, the ancient Therapeutae were actually the founders of the art of healing. The teachings of the Therapeutae were said to be formulated by the immortal Hermes. The books were divided into sacred writings organized into 6 general classifications. One of these was called the Pastophorus, and it was devoted to the science of medicine. According to Hall, the Smagdurine, or emerald tablet that has been accredited to Hermes, is in reality a chemical formula of a high and secret order. The Hermetic theory concerning the causations of disease is very interesting. Hermetic philosophers theorized there were 7 primary causes of disease. These were evil spirits, a derangement of the spiritual nature and the material nature, unhealthy or abnormal mental attitude, karma, the motion and aspect of the heavenly bodies, misuse of faculty, organ, or function, and presence in the system of foreign substances, impurities, or obstructions. It was during the Middle Ages that the ancient Hermetic writings about the healing arts were rediscovered. The man responsible for studying this ancient philosophy and writing about it was named Theophrastus of Hohenheim, or Paracelsus, and he was born in 1493. Paracelsus devoted his life to the study of this ancient wisdom, even though he faced much opposition and his ideas were not recognized for their significance at the time. The occult world owes him a great debt, however, for preserving this knowledge. He worked tirelessly to reconcile the art of healing with the philosophic and religious systems of paganism and Christianity. He was known especially for being a great observationalist because he traveled widely through Europe and probably the East as well, learning much from studying various cultures. For this he was criticized as a vagabond, but in reality he is to be admired for his view that the healing of the sick was of far greater importance than maintaining a certain orthodox reputation. He had contempt for the systems of medicine that existed in his lifetime because he found them to be inadequate and narrow. Hall quotes our author Franz Hartmann, who wrote Paracelsus and the Substance of His Teachings in 1902. And Paracelsus said, "But the number of diseases that originate from some unknown cause is far greater than those that come from mechanical causes. And for such diseases, our physicians know no cure, because not knowing such causes, they cannot remove them. All they can prudently do is to observe the patient and make their guesses about his condition. And the patient may rest satisfied if the medicines administered to him do no serious harm and do not prevent his recovery. The best of our popular physicians are the ones that do least harm. But unfortunately, some poison their patients with mercury, others purge them or bleed them to death." There are some who have learned so much that their learning has driven out all their common sense, and there are others who care a great deal more for their own profit than the health of their patients. A disease does not change its state to accommodate itself to the knowledge of the physician, but the physician should understand the causes of the disease. A physician should be a servant of nature, not her enemy, and he should be able to guide and direct her in her struggle for life and not throw, by his unreasonable inference, fresh obstacles in the way of recovery. A fundamental concept in Hermetic medicine is that nearly all diseases originate in the astrum. This is better known in modern times as the aura, which is made up of astral light. The aura can be read or perceived by those who have clairvoyance, clear seeing, or clairsentience, the ability to sense the past, present, or future emotional states of others without relying on the five senses of smell, vision, touch, hearing, and taste. In a healthy person, the aura is bright or luminous, but in a person who is experiencing some form of dis-ease, the aura presents as dull, murky, or dark. It is possible to work on clearing the aura, thus making it brighter and more luminous. Of course, the opposite is also true. It can be made duller and less luminous through various means. According to this system, disease is unnatural and represents maladjustment within or between organs and tissues. Thus, permanent health cannot be regained until harmony in the bodily system is restored. Ancient Hermetists in no way disregarded the physical body, but a core principle of their medicine was that man's physical vehicle was an emanation from his invisible spiritual principles. Hermetists taught that there is one vital substance in nature called the vital life force upon which all things subsist. Occultist Eliphas Levi called this the astral light, and the ancients termed it spiritual air. In The History of Magic, published in 1913, Levi wrote, "Light, that creative agent, the vibrations of which are the movement and life of all things. Light, latent in the universal ether, radiating about absorbing centers, which, being saturated thereby, project movement and life in their turn, so forming creative currents. Light, astralized in the stars, animalized in animals, humanized in human beings. Light, which vegetates all plants, glistens in metals, produces all forms of nature, and equilibrates all by the laws of universal sympathy. This is the light which exhibits the phenomena of magnetism, divined by Paracelsus, which tinctures the blood, being released from the air as it is inhaled and discharged by the hermetic bellow of the lungs." The vital energy or astral light originates in the spiritual body of the earth. Everything that is created has this vital energy within, though it is invisible. This ethereal counterpart of the physical body is called a vital body. It survives the death of the physical body. This is the essence of what people are seeing and sensing when they see ghosts, which are these etheric doubles. The etheric body is much finer in makeup than the physical body. It is disruptions to this astral light body that cause much disease, according to the principles of Hermetic healing. One of the most interesting things that Paracelsus taught about this etheric body is that a person who harbors a negative mental attitude could infect his or her own astral light body, causing tears and disruptions in its flow, leading to imbalance and eventually a physical ailment. Because Paracelsus saw this disruption of the etheric body as the most significant cause of disease, he taught the importance of bringing it back into a harmonious state. One way to do this, he taught, was by bringing it into contact with other bodies whose vital energy could supply the needed energy, or were strong enough to heal the damaged aura of the sufferer. This is the basis of Reiki healing, because at the core of that discipline, the teaching is that when the invisible cause of the disease is removed and the health of the aura restored, the person recovers. Paracelsus called the vehicle for the vital life force the mumia. He said, that which constitutes life is contained in the mumia, and by imparting the mumia, we impart life. An example of this is how humans are not able to nourish themselves from dead animal or plant organisms, but when they eat these, they take into their bodies the mumia, or etheric double, of the animal or plant. This is how humans gain control over the universal energy that is contained in the mumia and can then use that energy for their own use. Manly Palmer Hall comments that this is the secret of how talismans and amulets work, because they contain mumia, which serves as a channel to connect the person wearing them with the universal vital life force. Paracelsus' hypothesis was that everything in nature is good for something. His explorations of nature took him to a wide variety of places where he was known to cut fungus from tombstones and collect dew on glass plates at midnight. He discovered that many plants and animals were able to accept disease elements transferred to them by human beings and assimilate these without harm to themselves. This was the first basis of using plants for healing purposes. His medical system was based on the idea that the plant could accept the diseased etheric mumia of the human and thus divert it from the patient. In this way, the patient recovered. Of course, we know that many primitive peoples used herbal remedies, including the Chinese, Egyptians, and Native Americans. Many of these cured diseases for which modern science knows no remedies. These herbal remedies were rediscovered by medieval European herbalists. During the time of Egypt and Greece, the Hermetic secrets used in healing were given only to the initiates of the mysteries. Various potions and unctions, including incense and perfumes, were used along with rites and ceremonies for administering them. Poisons were also studied and used. And Manly Palmer Hall notes that the infamous Borgias of Italy developed the art of poisoning to a very high degree. These were used to dispose of many men and women knowledgeable in the art, so that the Borgias could preserve the knowledge exclusively for their family, where it remained for centuries. Occultist Helena P. Blavatsky wrote about this use of plants for healing purposes. She said, "Plants also have like mystical properties in a most wonderful degree, and the secret of the herbs of dreams and enchantments are only lost to European science, and useless to say are unknown to it, except in a few marked instances, such as opium and hashish. Yet the physical effects of even these few upon the human system are regarded as evidences of a temporary mental disorder. The women of Thessaly and Epirus, the female hierophants of the rites of Sabazius, did not carry their secrets away with the downfall of their sanctuaries. They are still preserved, and those who are aware of the nature of soma know the properties of other plants as well." Some of these plants were used in the higher degrees of initiation into the ancient mysteries. The ancients believed that deities lived in the invisible worlds and came only in their spiritual bodies to the ceremonies, so it was necessary for the initiates to use drugs to commune with them. These drugs stimulated the clairvoyant center of consciousness, probably what we know as the pineal gland. Many of these initiates in the ancient mysteries told stories of how they had conversed with immortals and the gods appeared to them. According to Manly Palmer Hall, some of these secret methods for communing with the immortals separated themselves from other pagan groups when the mysteries became corrupted, and they disappeared from society, even though some of the less important of the secrets fell into the hands of the profane, who perverted them. One instance of this was in the case of the Bacchanalia, during which drugs were mixed with wine and became the cause of the infamous orgies that took place during these rites. Egyptian priests used many magic rituals for the curing of disease. Many of these secrets have been preserved in an ancient scroll called the Book of Coming Forth by Day. These ancient people, along with the Brahmins of India, understood the fundamental principles of vibrotherapeutics. In other words, the power of the spoken word. Certain arrangement of words can create vortices of force within the invisible universe and impact visible physical substances. Mantras and chants are one example of this. They set in motion vibratory reactions. The divine name, symbolized by the Om of the Hindus, is one of these powerful mantras. According to Hermetists, disease could be prevented or cured in 7 ways. These included spells and invocations, vibration, in other words, chanting spells, invoking sacred names, singing and or musical instruments, the use of talisman, charms, and amulets, herbs, prayer, regulation of diet and daily habits of life, preventative measures, in other words, and what was known as practical medicine, bleeding and purging. Paracelsus used all 7 of these methods, and Manly Palmer Hall notes that even his worst enemies admitted that he accomplished results that were almost miraculous in character. It's interesting to contemplate which of these, in fact, were more responsible than others for these results.